let's delve a little bit deeper into the Jet loss. A lot of people are putting it on the ill-advised timeout. But, Don, they had so many chances to put that away. They couldn't stop them defensively. Aaron Rodgers shredded that secondary. The secondary is going to be a problem no matter what Rex says. D. Milner, who's going to come in and save the cavalry, he got burned. I mean, he got undressed by Jordy Nelson, and then all of a sudden his ankle tightened up again. This is a weakness on that team that is going to be the gift that just keeps giving. You can't be up by 18 points, playing as well as they did, and then give it all back. You can't have moral victories in the NFL. That was a game that the Jets could steal, and they didn't do it. You steal a game like that, then you can allow yourself to dream big, Don. You can allow yourself to say, maybe we can 11, 12-win team. But if you're not going to win games where you're up 21-3 on the road, what game are you going to steal away from another team? And I keep hearing it over and over all the years he's here, and we'll have Rex on later. What a great defense. Great defense he has. Great defense doesn't let you give up an 18-point lead. I'm sorry.
But the problem lies in mentality more than physicality. I think physically this team can play with anybody in the National Football League. And that's how they got their 18-point lead. I think you saw some good things out of Geno Smith. They were able to run the football. They put pressure on Aaron Rodgers. But mentally, this team is not prepared to win a game like that in an atmosphere like that. You can't have 12 men on the field that erases an interception. You can't have 10 men on the field when it costs you a timeout late in the game.
And you cannot have a play or not have a play that costs you a time clock expiration when you're coming out of a challenge. That's disgraceful. How do you lose that time?
It's awful, Michael. You just can't do it. And you can't have one of your leaders, your best defensive player, get thrown out of a big game with 21 minutes left to go in the contest. These are mental errors that this team can't afford.
They're discipline errors.
And
they're discipline errors.
We'll talk about it with Rex, Michael. I think it's a reflection on the coach. Because this is something that's happened time and time again with this team. How many times, and I've watched every single game, Michael, under Rex Ryan, how many times this team got called for too many men on the field? How many times have they only had 10 guys and forced to call a timeout? Come on, you got to tighten up here. Big game, Lambeau Field, chance to go 2-0. You can't make those mistakes. You got to tighten things up.
And you also have to have control of your sideline. You're the guy who calls a timeout, not the offensive coordinator. You're just not. Why was Rex not on Marty Morningweg's headset? Why was he not listening to what Morningweg was trying to do? And Morningweg didn't even get the timeout. It was Wilkerson who got the timeout. Because an assistant coach can't call the timeout.
Richardson.
That stuff can't go on. Richardson. That stuff can't go on. It can't go on. It shows that they're not as tight as chip as they should be.
And that doesn't mean it can't tighten itself up. But we had Rex on last week. Hey, 11 penalties, 2 turnovers. Can't afford to do that. Well, a big turnover was the turning point of the game to me late in the second quarter. And again, the penalties begin to pile up. You're not going into Lambeau Field and winning a football game making the mental errors that you made. So this is what's got to get cleaned up because physically, I saw a lot of good things. I saw a lot of things that make you think, you know what? They can play in this league. I mean, they went to Lambeau. That's the same team that took the 18-point lead. They sacked Aaron Rodgers 3 times in the first half. Couldn't run the football. They were doing something without much of a secondary. The defense was doing its job. But you got to play 60 minutes in this league. And if you want to go and win in Lambeau and you want to win playoff games, in Denver, in New England, it's a new era now, okay? Or whatever Rex did back in 2009 and 2010, that was different players, different situation. I'm talking about right now. With the personnel they have on the field, they can play with anybody. But you got to tighten up these mistakes, man. You're not good enough to overcome them.
I would disagree with you on one thing, though. I don't think with that secondary they could play against a great quarterback. I just don't. I don't think they can. And you could try to slough it off as much as you want if you're Rex. That secondary is going to get strafed. And then when you ask him about it after the game, well, we're playing against one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Well, you got a lot of those quarterbacks lined up, coming up right against you. What are you going to do against Tom Brady? He is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. What are you going to do?
Thing, Michael, I agree with you. But again, it's the same secondaries on the field that took a 21-3 lead. It was the same secondary on the field where the Packers were settling for field goals instead of touchdowns. But what Rex Ryan has to do is he's got to make the adjustments. When the Packers make the adjustment and start doing some different things, he's got to make the adjustment too. I mean, he does a great job game planning. But as the adjustment starts to happen and McCarthy starts to change things up, Rex has got to follow suit. And those are the things that he just has not done on a regular enough basis for me. So from a talent standpoint, I think they may have enough to be very competitive and be a playoff team. I'm not sure right now from a mental standpoint for the players and from the coaches whether they did a good enough job to win the game yesterday. Matter of fact, I know they didn't. The hope is that they can get better, get on the same page, so something like that doesn't happen again.